much more is demanded of your business family than, say, my nuclear family of my wife and 3 daughters and 1 dog. Your business family needs to make really hard decisions together. Should you fire your brother? Should you cut off the dividend to your mom so you can invest in a new business? There's always a lot of both rational and emotional content that's swirling through your business family. My family doesn't have those hard decisions to make. But we do share something deeply important. Your business family, just like every family, will be hit by 4 major disruptions. They will test the resilience of your family. Well, what are those 4 major disruptions? Death in the family, entrant of a new family member, inequality, and behavioral health issues. When disruptions hit a business family, they're both normal and the stakes are much higher. So what do you do about it? So the core thing that we have learned is that you need to normalize. You have to prepare and you have to work together. Let's take these 4 disruptions in order and talk about normalizing, preparing, and working together. So death in the family, a tough example. We know a 74-year-old patriarch, G1, an amazing businessman, created $1 billion business, and when we met him, he had no estate plan. If he passed, fortunately he's still alive, it would likely necessitate the fire sale of his business, and we think it would break not only the business, but most likely the family too. This is where you don't want to be. So how do you prepare for death in a business family? You have to work at 2 levels. You have to work at the rational level, and Dave McCabe in an earlier video talked about that, and you have to work at the emotional level. On the rational level, you must have, there are not many best practices in family businesses, but there's a must-have about having an estate plan, how it's going to transfer across to whoever you choose, and having a succession plan for the business. And those are basic things Dave, I'm sure, talked about very well. As important is preparing yourself on the emotional side. What this means, at least to us, is slow things down. When there are decisions to be made in an emotional space, the best advice that we give is just slow it down. Grieve first. Funerals and other rituals around death, there's a purpose to them, and the purpose is to slow it down and let yourself grieve. Also, really important in grieving is just don't make any important decisions. So both prepare rationally and know emotionally that there's going to be a lot that's coming out at you. New entrants to your business family. This is much more complicated than people usually understand initially. When a new entrant comes in, they're going to change so much in your business family. It will be super disruptive. We know this family, highly functional business family, but when the first grandson was born into the family, the 2 sets of grandparents competed for time with the grandson, so much so that they got competitive with each other and there was a cutoff. Really sad between these two sets of grandparents. That's an example you don't want to do. Let's talk about what you do want to do. And maybe the best way to talk about it is one of the hardest new entrants, most difficult to get right, ironically maybe, is our spouses coming into a business family. Because spouses change everything. It's joyful when they come in, but you got to be really ready for the profound changes that happens. There's a new nuclear family that is created. Many of the long-term relationships, now there's this new character involved in it, and they change themselves. And there are all these new relationships between the spouse and all people in the business family. And very importantly, and can't be neglected, is a new set of values are coming into the family. So how the spouse is treated upon their entry makes a huge difference. And the basic rule that we think of is be inclusive with boundaries. Let me give you an example. We know we work with one great business family, and they're going through a generational transition where many, I think it was 8, got married pretty quickly. And they, as a system, were prepared. They said, we will have prenups for everybody. The first few were frankly a disaster. And what they learned was the following. I like what they did. They said the prenup is not going to be negotiated with the new spouse and the uncle or the father. They originally did it with their own legal team in the business. That also was a disaster. They learned the prenup is going to be negotiated by an outside lawyer, according to some standards that go across the whole family. And the second thing I really like of what they did was they said in the prenup, it will be a term that if there is a divorce of the spouse who came in is leaving, that spouse will be financially taken care of. What they don't want is the spouse to be, okay, I had a great career, I left a career, I joined this business family, I gave up my livelihood, and now 10 years later, we happen to get a divorce and I can't support myself anymore. They said that's not it. And what an interesting signal. There's a lot going on in that signal that we value you. Even if it doesn't work out, you'll be okay. Come on in, you're welcomed. So the inclusive with boundaries, we think is a good idea that they do well. The third disruption, which is in some ways the most insidious, slow-building disruption, is that of inequality. And by this, we mean inequality across individuals or inequality across branches within a business family. Now, most parents try to raise their kids with an equality of opportunity. I know we do. Most reject the notion that there is a favorite child. We love you all equally is really what we're saying to them. But over a lifetime of differences in skills, in discipline, and frankly in luck, inevitably it will be leading to an inequality of outcomes, inequality of wealth, inequality of health maybe, and also frankly of happiness. This happens again individually and by branches. So how do you not prepare for we love you all equally? That's kind of easy. You say it and you believe it. But how do you prepare for inequality in your family? First thing we suggest is you explore, you prepare, you talk together about the difference between being equal and being fair. What is fair may not be equal. What is equal may not be fair. And just put that into the system and get a conversation going. What does that mean? And how do we feel about that? What do we want to be equal? What do we want to be fair? Or it's free. Let's see what happens. The second thing is you need to find a common ground. If you believe the premise that there will be inequality, if you are one of the haves that seems to have done really well, you need to be really sensitive to the have-nots. So we have this one client with great disparity in wealth. Big family, more than 70 people in the family. They would get together for their family assembly once a year. Those that had done really well, they would come in and fly in on the family jet. Those that didn't would sit in the middle seat of coach. But they would see at the airport, that's our corporate jet over there. Anything that this family was trying to do in building unity in the family assembly was undercut by this clear disparity of wealth. So we deeply believe that you need to be sensitive to the have-nots. You should fly commercial was something we said to this family. Make choices that everyone can afford when you're together. Don't show your wealth the way that was being shown. The final and most difficult, I think, is behavioral health. It's good preparation to assume that your family, like most families, will be hit by behavioral health issues. The biggest problem here is that business families in particular, but most families, will be really good at ignoring or just minimizing any behavioral health issue. It's not like taking your temperature, it's at 100. It's much more subtle and difficult to diagnose. Now, strongly we recommend don't hide, but prepare for mental health issues in your business family. One thing you can do is talk about any genetic predispositions your family has. If there's alcoholism in the family, in your family tree, don't hide it, discuss it. The second thing we think is really good in preparation is before you need it, find a team of behavioral health professionals who can help you when and if an issue does come up. They will give you the specific advice you need for your family on these issues before you need them. So our takeaways from all four of these disruptions: number one, normalize them. They happen to all families, they're gonna happen to your family. Two, be prepared. And three, work together to be prepared together. We know we're not therapists, and we're huge believers in the power of work. If your business family can work on these things, these disruptions are things that you can be resilient to.